Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our live event here, our five business week special. Apologies for the slight lateness there. I thought I'd sent this live 2 minutes ago at the start. However, it didn't appear to be live. I must not have pressed the right button there. Do apologise. So the event today is 5 essential reasons businesses need a modern approach to IT in a post-COVID-19 world. However, as we've quite rightly seen in the news recently, it looks like things are coming back, so we might want to amend that to in the midst of COVID-19. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Stuart Ambler. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Managed IT Experts. The event itself will be around 30 to 45 minutes. We will be recording the event, and the recording will be available to all attendees or anyone who registered after the event. So if you do miss it, then don't worry. We do have a Q&A section, so please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A section, and we will come back to you on those as we go through the event today. If I don't manage to get them through the event, then I will address them at the end, so please feel free to post them at any point. And if you do have any further questions on what we're discussing today, please don't hesitate to contact me. You'll be able to get me on stuart@manageditexperts.co.uk. So let's take a look. So the agenda today, what we're going to be looking at, what is the new normal? What does that actually mean? A lot of people have been saying it a lot recently, and it's a phrase that's bandied about, but what does it mean in sense of IT and small businesses and what they have to deal with? We'll also be taking a look at the different approaches a business can take to an IT infrastructure, be it on-premise, cloud, hybrid. We'll be taking a look at each of them in turn and weighing up the pros and cons of each. We'll also be looking at how actually improving your IT improves business performance. What's the real world benefit for businesses to improve their IT? Why should you invest? Why should you take the time to look at these sorts of things? And then we'll be looking at 5 key things to look for in any prospective IT provider that you are in contact with. So if you are looking to take on a new IT provider and IT support, then we can obviously get that. We'll let you know the kind of key flags to look out for when considering who's going to be looking after your IT. So what is the new normal? So COVID has placed a huge strain on businesses and IT infrastructure. And the kind of first wave of COVID and the first wave of lockdowns, furloughs, and the first thing that businesses had to do was react to this huge change within the business environment and the workplace environment, because they could no longer have staff sitting side by side on the one premises working as they normally do. They had to either be working from home or socially distanced, which meant reducing the number of staff in the building. And that presented a lot of challenges. So having to have staff work from home, how do they get access to the tools and software that they need to be able to work effectively? How do they continue collaborating with staff and other team members effectively? And how do they still feel part of the company if they're isolated at home? How does that work? So there was a lot of kind of very quick, just get stuff in place so the businesses can get operating in some sort of capacity. Let's just quickly throw something together. Let's just get people quickly access from home without really kind of spending a lot of time on what is the kind of additional benefits of how we're doing this, and is this the right way to be doing it? It was very much kind of had to be fast, had to react fast, had to get it set up fast, and just get something in place that was working okay to get people operating, and quite rightly so. So how about now? So what's the situation now? Businesses have went through this kind of rapid change, implemented some technologies to be able to allow their staff to work flexibly and allow them to work from home. But at the time, it was very much a temporary fix. It was a quick fix just to get things up and running. It wasn't really meant to be permanent, and it wasn't really planned out to be permanent, as the thoughts were at the time that it would maybe be 3-4 months and then be able to start working back to normal the kind of normal operating of having staff back in house. As we've seen though, businesses are now really having to face that reality that this is going to be a more permanent consideration. It's something that's not going to go away anytime soon. We're going to continue to have these pushes in terms of trying to limit the amount of staff that are in an office environment, keep social distancing, working flexibly, working from home. It's really important that businesses now look at this as a permanent fixture and a permanent thing. And the things that we've seen in order to kind of back that sort of trend or to show that sort of trend is there has been a large increase in the sale of commercial office spaces. Businesses are getting rid of the big office spaces and allowing their staff to work from home. So they're moving to that kind of flexible way of working. There's continuing high demand for laptops and other alternatives to desktop PCs to allow people to work when they're out and about and when they're not in an office. And also, anecdotally, there's been an increase in the residential property market and buyers looking for houses with more rooms than what they currently have. They're looking to upsize. They're looking to maybe convert a summer house out the back into an office. They're looking to make an extension which will become an office. So they're looking to build in home offices so that they can work effectively from home and not have to go into the office. So it really is, the state of affairs is that businesses must look at this way of working, flexible working, as a permanent thing. It's no longer, this is the new normal. Staff being able to work flexibly, along with a small contingent of staff in the office, and how do you go about putting that kind of permanent fixture in place? So that brings us on to the kind of different approaches to IT. How do you do that? How do you go about bringing in a permanent way of working from home or working flexibly, where you've got staff in the office, staff at home, or everyone's working from home and you are working remotely and there is no office? What's the different ways of doing that? And what's the different ways of implementing that? And what's their benefits? So you can see here there's kind of 4 different approaches. The kind of traditional approach on premises, where everything is managed by the company, everything's managed by yourself, or if you do have IT support managing that for you, then that's managed, but it's your responsibility. So you have the servers, you have all the end user devices, you're responsible for the antivirus, all the data that's kept, or the networking, so the internal networking for your broadband, and obviously access to shared files and folders if they're on a server, storage and data backup. So if you keep company data, essential company data, if it's kept on premises, it needs to be backed up. How is that done? Applications, software, business applications for running the business, ERP systems, CRM systems, all on premises, all your responsibility. You owned it, and that was the kind of traditional way of working. As kind of stated before, though, that's not really an option anymore, because that model fit better having a large number of staff, all accessing a server or a central point for business applications and storage and information and business data, but they were all in the one location, so it was easy to manage because you had all the desktops wired in to that network, so they were part of that local area network. With people working from home and some staff working from home, that's not really an option anymore, because they don't have access to that local area network without implementing some sort of virtualization or a private network, a VPN, virtual private network. So that then moves us on to the next, infrastructure as a service. So what that means is how you could have it as your server, storage and networking all managed in a kind of cloud level. So for instance, Microsoft Azure. So you could have your servers online, you could have the storage online and the networking, and then everyone essentially accesses those data in that shared file through the cloud, so through an internet connection. And then what you could also have as a kind of hybrid approach there, because it's just the infrastructure, it means that all the data, the applications, the end user devices, all of those are still managed by yourself. So you're essentially getting the best of both worlds, because you don't have to put your full data, all the business software, etc., business applications on cloud and rely on that being cloud, but things like files, file storage, your servers for things like your domain control, your Active Directory, all of this can be based in the cloud, and your staff can access that via the cloud, and all they need is an internet connection. The next kind of offering there is platform as a service, and that means that everything except from local data and business applications is hosted on the cloud. So absolutely everything. So, you know, virtual desktops, so people would just log in via the cloud to their virtual desktop, all their files, all their storage would be on there, and they would access that as part of the cloud offering and on the hosted provider's platform. Essentially, it's very close to infrastructure. There's just that little bit more that's actually hosted, and the responsibility of that hosting is to your provider rather than to yourself. And then the very last option is full cloud. So all your business applications, all your business data, all the operating systems, the desktops, servers, your storage, everything, absolutely everything is kept on cloud. And that could be hosted by, there's a number of different options. You have Amazon, Google, also Microsoft is the more than likely the kind of more popular one for businesses at the moment, because most, you know, the largest percentage of the business market use Microsoft products. So kind of sticking with that, it means that you would have everything, your CRM, ERP, everything would be based cloud, and all the end user would need is a device that can access that, so an internet connection. So what's the kind of benefits and what's the drawbacks of each of these? So if we go kind of either end of the scale, for the on-premise, the kind of benefits is you don't need to rely on an internet connection. You don't need to rely on that continuous internet connection in order to operate. So if the internet goes down, then you can still continue to operate. The business can still work because everything is based on premise. So there's much less to absolutely zero reliance on internet connection. For the other side of the scale, for the cloud-based, fully cloud-based, then you're not responsible for any of the hosting and any of the upkeep of things like servers and desktops, business applications. You don't have to continually update business applications on a regular basis in terms of any big version updates. So if you've purchased, say, your on-premise, and you've purchased, say for instance, Microsoft Dynamics CRM version 14. So you could keep that version 14 on premise, not have to update until that eventually goes out of date. But then it means when it does go out of date, it's a huge expense to then bring yourself up to date with the latest version, because you then have to migrate everything to what could be a completely new platform, and they might not even support that certain type of on-premise application anymore because it might be moved to cloud. So it means that on-premise, although you don't have to, you're not continually updating, you are responsible for keeping your own software in support. So if it's no longer supported by the manufacturer, then you're then left with a kind of huge project to migrate all of that from one place to the other. Whereas if it's fully cloud, it's constant updates. It's continually kept up to date, so you don't have to do any large projects. It's just up to date on a regular basis, and all of that information is kept in a cloud location. Same goes for the likes of data. So you're responsible, if it's on premise, you're fully responsible for the data and the security of that data, the cyber security of that data. So it means you need to invest in adequate business cybersecurity through things like antivirus, IDS, IPS systems, any other kind of cybersecurity which will increase the safety of that data, especially if you're holding personal data. Obviously, GDPR guidelines, you're fully responsible for that and can be held responsible if there's any breach. However, if that data is kept on premise, the benefit is that you're keeping the data, so you know where it is. You know, you're looking after it, and you have full access to that data at all times as required. If you're fully cloud, you're not responsible for the cybersecurity of that data. Your hosting party or your hosting provider is, and that's what you're paying that software as a service for. You're paying for that cybersecurity. You're paying for that assurance. You make sure that they are certified and they have all the required certifications when it comes to cybersecurity. The drawback is, though, you don't have that data. You don't physically hold that data. That data is kept in a cloud location. It could be a server farm, say for instance Microsoft. It could be a server farm somewhere in Europe. So it's not, you don't physically hold that data. Okay, so that's the kind of the benefits and drawbacks. And to be honest, for most businesses, a hybrid approach is usually the best approach, because there's a lot of businesses where things like data security, they have to, as part of their own industry, they have to be fully responsible and they can't rely on a third party to be responsible for that. Other businesses, they're struggling with internet connections. Consistent and reliable internet connections is an issue, so therefore they have to rely on on-premise, and that's absolutely fine for certain applications. They have to rely on on-premise. So 90% of the cases, a hybrid approach is actually the kind of best approach. But it's all about looking at your business and how your business works in terms of how it keeps data and what it does with data, what it does with applications, how it works with what applications it's using, and look at the kind of pros and cons of moving to either or. But in most cases, you should have an option to do cloud or on-premise. There should be something depending on the software and applications you're using. Most business applications will offer fully cloud options now, so it's definitely worth looking into. So again, so moving on to the next, how will improved IT improve my business? So it's all very well and good saying, yep, you need to improve IT, you need to invest in IT, but what's the real world benefits of that? So small companies are twice as likely to hire remote employees. So it's very important that these types of employees, salespeople, do have access to the tools and data that they need. So investing in that cloud infrastructure will ensure that these people do have access to the tools and the data that they need. And as you can see there, 60% of employees say that mobile technology makes them more productive. So ensuring that your applications and data and how you work is available on mobile technology is extremely important nowadays. Smartphones have been around for a long time now. A lot of businesses, especially a lot of employees who work remotely, rely on their mobile phones and smartphones in order to be able to work, to receive emails. So ensuring that your business and that your things like your business infrastructure, business applications is accessible remotely and via mobile technology is extremely important. It's extremely important. You can see another couple of kind of facts there. Half the global workforce works from home at least once a week. Obviously, I think that figure's increased dramatically in the recent kind of with the recent situation, and obviously you can see a lot more small businesses are agreeing that dynamic team structures, such as people working from home and working from the office and being in the same team but having to have that type of collaboration, is now becoming the normal, and it has to, unfortunately. Let's move on to the next slide. I don't know how clear this one is. It is a bit pixelated. I do apologise for that. So yeah, so you can get, moving to cloud and making sure these kind of applications are available easily via cloud, you can see the benefits there that will show. So 30% of over 30% of salesperson's time per week, you can get back 30% of a salesperson's time per week by eliminating the need for time-consuming data reconciliation status meetings. So that could be using things like Microsoft Teams, for example, rather than having regular meetings to see how people are doing and what people are doing for that, what the salespeople are doing for that week. You can just have access to things like Microsoft Teams, so you can send them a quick message, or you can even have access to Power BI, which will show you what they're doing. It will show you how they're working. It will show you how they're performing. So you don't even need to have these meetings. The meetings that you can have can be more personable rather than spending time, going over data that's readily available for you to view. You can have meetings to have that more kind of collaborative and social approach, so that person is not left to feel as if they're not part of the company anymore. So you can see 60% of small businesses report using the cloud, significant, and gave them significant productivity benefits. 94% of businesses report significant improvements in online security after moving their data to the cloud. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Microsoft invests billions of dollars per year in cybersecurity. I mean, any small business, even a very successful small business, would struggle to match that. Most businesses I've seen with kind of server approaches, the servers in the front office next to the window, with not under lock and key, easy to access. Whereas if you're trying to get into a level 4 data center, I can assure you through personal experience with being on tour in one of them, the security is huge, and it's extremely significant. So yeah, if data security is important to you, then cloud should definitely be a consideration. And you can see the other couple of kind of examples it gives there. I'm not going to go through each one, but yeah, it's looking at a kind of hybrid approach and looking at taking advantage of cloud applications more in your business. It doesn't only benefit having your employees and getting your employees accessing the data remotely. It benefits the real world security for the business and productivity for the business as well. So moving on to the kind of last few points then, in terms of kind of 5 key things that you want to ask as any prospective IT provider. And the first one here is, how will your approach to IT support help my business objectives? And this is a great place to start, particularly in the highly disruptive environment businesses operating in just now. The key thing to remember as you assess the response is that technology should be an enabler for your business, not a roadblock. You shouldn't have to fully change your business to fit the technology. You shouldn't have to implement huge changes just to get to go to cloud. You shouldn't have to completely change the way you operate. Moving to cloud should enable you to operate more effectively. So it should enable you to do more. It should enable your time. It should give you more time back. It shouldn't take up all of your time trying to implement a technology. So that's a key thing to remember. And whether you want to make your existing IT work harder, minimize downtime, or get the best out of cloud-based business applications, the focus needs to be on what will this deliver for us? What are the outcomes? What are we going to get back from this? So a highly proactive approach and the expertise needed to support your business, not just your IT, is essential. So it's very important to ask that question: how will your approach to IT help my business objectives? The next one, how will you get my remote employee teams working together effectively? So this is a big one. And it's probably an issue you've been wrestling with a lot in the recent months. As we've said, that the impact of COVID-19 with social distancing requirements and lack of access to business premises, it's had a huge knock-on effect in terms of providing the technology solutions needed to get remote employees working together again quickly. The use of innovative collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, for example, has been at the heart of our approach to enabling customers even prior to COVID-19. So, it was already baked into the way we worked. So ask your prospective IT provider how long they've been supporting customers with this type of approach. Is it something they've just started doing recently? Is a technology like Teams, is that new technology to them, or have they been working with it for a long time since it's been available? And just to talk a bit more about Teams, the benefits of Teams itself, the core chat, meeting, messaging capability are only the kind of core part of the business value. The real value in Teams is when you connect it up with other tools like Microsoft Planner, CRM, and a huge other variety of third-party applications like Salesforce, Zoho, Sage. So ask for examples of this, types of proactive use for the technology to support business customers. If they're suggesting it's technology, how does that work with things that you already have in place? Can it work with things you already have in place? Just something to think about. So the next one, I think I'm misnumbered here, but it's okay. So can you help me with my overall IT strategy and planning? So whatever your new supplier undertakes to do for you has to be in context of an overall plan that's specific to your business. Forward-thinking providers will include advice on IT strategy as part of the service too, which helps significantly with aligning business and IT strategy, accurate budgeting, feedback and review, etc. For example, ourselves, we take a structured approach to onboarding all clients, and that includes business level assessments where we assess what you need to achieve from a business perspective using independent business process and mapping tools. We'll also do an initial review of the existing business software applications, and we also include regular quarterly business reviews that provide transparent opportunity for feedback on both sides. So it's important that you ask any prospective IT providers about that. How will they approach your overall IT strategy? Okay. So yeah, the real number 4 rather than the number 3 before. So number 4, what happens if I have a disaster recovery situation in my business? So this was an important question before COVID-19, and now it becomes essential in terms of your kind of decision-making process. For instance, if your business has to be shut down for say for instance a deep clean, if maybe one of your staff has been tested positive for coronavirus, you need to shut down the office for a deep clean. It's definitely something you need to take into consideration as to what's the plan, what is the disaster recovery plan and the business continuity. How do we keep the business running if that happens? So if your prospective supplier doesn't have this capability, and in the current environment, then at least that you can cross their name off the list, because at the end of the day it's essential to have something like this. And then your last one, tell me about the type of work you do for customers. So again, this one is really important. Many IT providers will tell you what they can do for your business, and they'll lay out potential solutions. But it's important to ask about, show me what you've done. So it's important to ask how they've solved similar problems that you're facing for other customers. So, visit their website, get a feel for the testimonials, see if you can actually speak to testimonials, the people who are giving testimonials, see if it's possible for you to speak to them, and you know, make sure that what you're getting back is consistent, and it's consistent to what they're actually saying that they've done as well, so that you're at least getting an idea that yes, they have carried out, they have been able to do, you know, these sorts of, they've been able to deal with these sorts of problems in the past, so they will be able to help you. So that's definitely a key one, is kind of, you know, look for examples in terms of how you've had to face, well, how they've currently fixed the situation that you're facing in any similar situations. Okay. So just a little bit of ourselves, for those who don't know us, we've extensive experience in helping small businesses get the most out of their IT. We're a Microsoft Silver partner. I've been doing IT support for over 15 years. We offer managed IT support services and project support, and we're also increasingly helping businesses go through a full digital transformation, and that's through the use of apps like cloud-based apps like Teams, Office 365, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, etc. So if you'd like to learn more, please feel free to contact me. We are also on the panel for Digital Boost, which is a business gateway-led grant, which will give you up to 3 days worth of consultancy for things like a full digital review, an IT audit, business application review. So if you are in the areas of Fife or Lanarkshire or Ayrshire or West Lothian, then please feel free to get in touch. We will be able to put you through in any of those areas, because we're on the panel for all of those areas. So if you do feel there's something you do want looked at, or if you want a third party to come in and review for you, we can come in and give you a completely impartial, honest review of the current situation, as well as recommendations on how to improve anything, or how to implement something that you're possibly looking to implement there. So yeah, so thanks very much for your time. I'm just going to post the feedback link on the Q&A, so please feel free to fill that out and leave any feedback. We do regular webinars. This is just one a kind of special event we've done in conjunction with Fife Council for Fife Business Week, but we do have regular webinars at least once, although recently it's been more twice a month. So please feel free to join all of our social media platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, have a look on our website, sign up to our newsletter, and so you don't miss out on any of those. And if you do have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Again, it's stuart@manageditexperts.co.uk. And yeah, thanks very much for your time. Please take the time to fill out the feedback form. I've just posted it in the Q&A section. So just again, if you could please leave any feedback, it's all read. And if you do have any specific feedback, we will come back to you as well. But other than that, thanks very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and we'll see you next time. Bye.